All right, welcome back, everyone. This is episode 6 of our Ahsoka review. We've done 5 of these. Make sure to check those out online. And yeah, we'll get to it. So, Jay Higgs, you want to kick us off, man?
Yeah. So they start out. I think it starts out with Hu Yang and Ahsoka just chatting in the ship. They're in the mouth of a Purgil on their way to Peridia, and I think Hu Yang is smarter than the average robot, but he definitely could. I think he could totally see a difference in Ahsoka. It's one of the peeves I had for the rest of the show was that no one mentioned hey, you look different, or oh, hey, you're acting different, or you're smiling more. No one said it, but they all recognized it.
Yeah.
And I think and with her joking with him, she kind of trolled him multiple times in this conversation. And it was good to see the Ahsoka that we know and love back.
Yeah. No, I like that. I thought their discussion at the beginning was really cool. Kind of as we go through this episode, a lot of what I'm going to focus on is dialogue. There were definitely some action sequences, but it felt like a lot of this episode was driven by the dialogue. And for me, there was a lot said in the beginning. There's some reflection on some of the decisions that Sabine made earlier on in the show. Obviously, Sabine chose to go with Balin and with everyone on the Eye of Sion to the other galaxy. And so I thought it was interesting, some of the conversation they had, where it was Ahsoka was like, "Hey, I didn't have enough time to train her to make the right choice in that situation." But the
don't mind me just messing the mic again.
Anyways, she makes the decision to go, and Ahsoka's like, "I didn't have enough time to train her to make the right decision," And Hu Yang, his focus is all, well, the Force is open-ended, right? The Force leads people in mysterious ways. And maybe the right choice wasn't to stay and destroy the map and not go get Ezra, right? But to Sabine, maybe the only choice was to go and get Ezra. And so, again,
I second that.
Yeah, right?
There was nothing else that she was ever going to do.
Yeah, that was, to her, that was the decision. And so I thought it was really cool to kind of get that take. Again, big fan of Hu Yang. I think he could, talk a little bit less about standard Jedi protocol, but I do agree that he is smarter than the average robot.
Exactly.
He's no Chopper.
Yeah.
He's no R2, but, he's better than C-3PO.
He is way better than C-3PO.
AP5, yeah. Probably in the mix with AP5, right?
We visited this on earlier segments. Not an AP5 fan over here, but yeah, no, big fan. And then I thought it was fun too, as the episode opened up, he was talking to Ahsoka, and they're talking about Purgil and stuff. She's like, "Oh yeah, we talked about these on the Jedi Temple and history of the galaxy and stuff." And he was like, "Oh, do you want me to tell you one of those stories?" And initially she was like, "Oh, maybe another time." And then there's some banter, and she's like, "Okay, yeah, why don't you tell me one of those stories?" And he opens up with, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And I was like, okay, he said the line, I thought that was cool. And then, episode opens up, yeah. So.
Well, I really like that too, because I think when we first watched it, someone had mentioned it being what if Star Wars was being told in the perspective of Hu Yang, who is a multi-generational, thousands of year old being, and or at least hundreds of years old, I shouldn't say thousands, but hundreds of years old being, who's just been there since the beginning. And I thought that would be a cool nod to. Well, I actually found out just barely that the original plot, that George Lucas's original idea with Star Wars, was that it was supposed to be told as a story from the Wills, from the Wills of the Force, and that they were kind of retelling history, kind of in a history book. That's what Star Wars is supposed to be. And the fact that they kind of Dave Filoni kind of added that in there was kind of cool, because it's just oh yeah, it's cool for the people who are oh yeah, I've only seen the movies or something. It's oh, they said the line, but it's cool on another deeper aspect where it's oh yeah, this could be cool if Hu Yang was telling the entire Skywalker saga of everything,
Yeah, definitely. After this point, they move forward. They come out of hyperspace, right? Well, jumps back to the Eye of Sion, right? We haven't seen them at all. they exit and they've arrived at Peridia, is what Morgan Elsbeth calls it, and says, these ancient texts we call the world Peridia, and it's kind of like it's a purgal graveyard, right? It's where the purgal go to die, and so the planet has, I think, those rings are just like bones
purgal,
which was interesting, Again, really happy when they go down to Peridia to look more at the planet. Again, new planet, right? We're not looking at another desert, as we've discussed in previous episodes. So, I kind of like the misty, rocky terrain. And when they get down to the planet, they're greeted not by Thrawn, right? There's no crash Star Destroyer or whatever, I don't know what we were expecting. That's kind of what I was expecting, right?
Yeah.
But we have this temple with 3 Night Sisters on it, right? Which I thought was pretty cool. But I don't know if you guys have any commentary up to that point, but
not much. Just it was fresh air, seeing a new place, and I liked how it wasn't like a Palpatine returned kind of transition. It was, hey, this is how we're gonna get to Peridia, and this is what it's like. We saw the process of going through it. So
yeah,
agreed. I think it was interesting, like you're saying, it was refreshing to see a new world, and like the way that it was built up. Like to me, it just seemed old. Like it captured the perfect intent of Peridia, which is like supposed to be this ancient Night Sister home world. But now it's like, if even the look of it, it's rugged, it's rocky, it's like tundra-esque, and it just looks ancient.
Yeah.
It just looks ancient. The cool, like, Night Sister statues and stuff, where it's just like them screaming and go up like super high. Super, super cool. I thought that was, like, the world building was marvelous. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. No, we can move on from this point. But yeah, I think we've mentioned it before. The addition of the Night Sisters to the show, I think, was perfect. Was exactly what we needed in order to kind of tie the whole story together. Obviously, it's something that Dave Filoni and George Lucas kind of created when they did Clone Wars, and then in recent years was kind of pushed even further along through Rebels and in newer games, right? Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. These Night Sisters are becoming a bigger aspect of Star Wars, and I think they were the perfect fit for the show. So
I completely agree. It's just more story. We're getting real storytelling, and I mean, it started with Clone Wars, but there's so many parts of the Night Sisters that we didn't even know until the show. I mean, that we're going to talk about in the next couple episodes. We found out Morgan Elsbeth was a Night Sister. Some of our favorite characters ever are Night Sisters or Night Brothers. So yeah, great addition.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool too, because if you think about it, like even in a plot point, it makes sense, because it's like you have Ahsoka, Jedi, you have Sabine, who's trained to be Jedi, and it's like but then you have on the other side you have Balin and Shin, who are like dark Jedi, right? What is another, like, and there's no one kind of in the galaxy right now at a point that could like fight Jedi, and so it's like, what's the next biggest thing that could come up and be like a potential like adversary or a potential like equal in power is the Night Sisters. Like they're old magics we've seen in Jedi Fallen Order, like the times that Merrin was kind of against Cal at the beginning, where she was just kind of like throwing rocks at him, or like even like tying him down, or even casting magic the way she does. Like she was able to kind of keep up with him. And so it's like, what can we do? Like, what force can we bring in that could equal a Jedi power? And the Night Sisters was like the only thought, if you're not going to reach too deep into Legends or to expanded universe.
Yeah. It's cool to see they're not a neutral power, but like they change alliances so many times. Mm-hmm. So like Ventress, they give Ventress to Count Dooku. And then season 3, they have their falling out, and Ventress takes Night Sisters to go kill Count Dooku. And then Night Sisters get wiped out by the Separatists. And then there's also, we see in Fallen Order, Merrin's one of the last few, because Terran Malicos comes in and kills the rest of them. and takes their power. And so it's like they're just kind of like this like third party that kind of picks and chooses, almost like a bounty hunters in the sense that like they go where the money is.
Mhm.
Nice is to go where what best fit helps them.
Yeah.
If they need to side with, I mean, Mother Talzin helps Obi-Wan and Anakin at one point. Whatever her motive is, but like she helps them. But then another time, Mace Windu has to stop her in season 6, right?
With Jar Jar Binks.
With Jar Jar Binks. So they're just kind of like living for their own gain, and then obviously they're in Rebels a little bit, but that's more Maul.
Yeah, it was more like remnants of the Night Sisters.
Yeah.
If anything.
But the magic is still there, right? And I think the magic is really important when you're going up against Force users, right?
Exactly.
So,
There was a season 8 Clone Wars that got canceled. That there was a rumor that there was going to be an arc where Sidious went to Mother Talzin to learn from her. Just food for thought. That was a rumored arc. So
yeah.
Very interesting.
Moving forward to the episode, we have they finally meet Thrawn, right? Thrawn shows up in the same Star Destroyer from season 4 of Rebels, right? It's got all the designs on the bottom, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we kind of see his army, and they're looking raggedy. Like, they've been here for years, right? And, they've been there for many years. They're running low on supplies and provisions, but I think the casting for Thrawn, obviously we have the same actor that we had from Star Wars Rebels, which was awesome. I think he made the jump to live action perfectly.
Absolutely perfect.
So, I think they added a lot of his military mind to the show, which was great, right? He's always by the planning table. He's always like, this is what we got, and this is what we're up against, and here's our plan, right?
He felt perfectly adapted.
Yeah.
Which also makes me so upset in the sense where it's like, Thrawn looks good. Like, I wouldn't say, like, it just honestly looks like a human with the blue filter over his skin. But even then, it's like, I would have preferred that than what we got with Cad Bane. In live action, right? Where it's like light blue, weirdly looking. Like, if we could have had almost like similarly to what we have with Thrawn to Cad Bane, I would have been better. I would have thought of it like they would have captured it a lot better. But yeah, Thrawn thought was perfect. The voice and everything was just spot on.
Yeah, which I think, bringing that amazing character who has awesome backstory to the show was great. And then, Star Wars, as it does sometimes, brings in a character with no background, with no reveal, who's just kind of there, and you're like, who is this guy who was Captain Enoch, right, in the show? Who is he? I don't know.
Question. That's a great question.
Yeah.
A lot of theories that everyone was going off the rails with the theories, but it's interesting to see, like, what is he Ezra? Right.
Yeah.
That was probably the
that was my question.
That was
like,
my
is
first-
he Ezra?
That was my
right?
thought, right?
Like, bro, did he convince Ezra?
Right, or did something happen to the Night Sisters, or the Night Sisters controlling him?
Yeah.
And, like, mind control, right? So it's like, is this Ezra? Is this, some other side?
Yeah, should we know who this is, right? Because obviously they made a point of making him not a stormtrooper, right? He's not just a standard stormtrooper. He's got the special helmet. They give him a name. He's working with Thrawn, right? Thrawn's like, hey, go do this, So it seems like he would have a significant role in the show, but he's just kind of there.
Had a Phasma vibe.
Yeah.
Right.
Supposed to be really important. Probably in her book, they wrote a book about her. Probably in the book, you probably learn a lot and you gain more appreciation for her. But, like, in the moment, it's like, this person's supposed to be more than they are, but we don't know why. Let the conspiracies go,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think one aspect, after the fact of the Enoch reveal, Thrawn kind of discusses with Shin and Balin and all of them, Ezra's out there, so we know Ezra is not Enoch, right? And he said, we're going to let Sabine go and get him, right? We'll let Sabine go, and if she can find Ezra, great. And the whole plan all along is she'll lead us right to Ezra, and we can take them both out. And, Balin and Shin and Morgan, they're like, yo, we're here to do your bidding, whatever, right? Balin and Shin are kind of, hey, we're here to do your bidding, in parentheses, because they've got ulterior motives here. But, I did like when they finally brought out Sabine and Thrawn were face to face, And Thrawn said, "Oh, it's good to see a familiar face." You know, I thought that was cold, dude. So
Super cool.
big fan of Thrawn, big fan of Sabine, and then you know the chase and the hunt is on, right? Sabine is out. She's looking for Ezra, right? While Balin and Shin are kind of just tailing her, waiting to get the drop on her. So I think you know there was some great dialogue there between Balin and Shin, which we can kind of pick apart a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything to add up to that point.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Yeah.
Because I think once we see Thrawn, it's like finally 6 episodes.
It was a build up.
It's a huge build up, and I was like, my mind right in the moment, I was like, where the frick is Ezra, man? Like this is as much as I want to see Thrawn. I want to see Ezra, you know.
Totally.
And so it was great to see Thrawn and how he embodied his. It was a perfect detailed. I mean, that's the thing we've been going back to this whole time. The detail in this show surpasses the detail in any other show combined because, I mean, Thrawn was perfect. And now we're seeing Balin develop Shin and develop the story of why did they even care to be in Peridia, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think it was cool, like, discussing, you know, what are they here for, right? I think, you know, you have Shin who has this really baseline view of, like, oh, we're here to get Thrawn because then he's going to come back and we'll get the Empire back together and we'll have all this power because we're associated with that, right? And Balin's like, no, that power is fleeting, right? That's going to be gone. What we're here for, he's like, you know, the power was the Republic and then it was the Empire and now it's the New Republic. He's like, that power is gone, right? But what we're here for is to get the power that's going to end that cycle, right? And it's going to begin something more and something new, right? And again, just is Balin showing that he has a greater vision, right? It's not, hey, we're going to repeat the same exact thing that we've been doing and that we've seen done, but we're going for this. And when we get there, the payoff is going to be way more than this fleeting power of, you know, we rule the galaxy for a decade or 2 decades or whatever. So that was a lot for me. What kind of carried this episode for me, it felt like, you know, there were some big character reveals and stuff. But this kind of middle part of the episode was just a lot of walking, traveling. You have kind of some scuffles between Sabine and some raiders and stuff, but there was just a lot of dialogue and a lot of, you know, moments where we see Balin and Shin's kind of ideology as they're trying to pursue something greater. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that was probably why this episode was actually very interesting to me because of. We see a lot more development. We actually see a little bit more into the psyche of Balin and Shin, right? Who have, for a lot of people, come into, have become these amazing characters that everyone loves and everyone knows. And so, they want to know more about their backgrounds, about where, like I want to, right? Mm-hmm. I want to see how Balin escaped Order 66. I want to see. Like, when Thrawn first meets Balin, he goes, oh, General Skull. Like, he knows of his repertoire, his entire MO. Like, he knows who he is the baseline question. And I want to know who General Skull is, right? Because to me, it leaves this whole background of, like, okay, these are interesting characters, but, like, they're not as bad as we think they are. They're not just this textbook like black and white, good like dark side, light side, right? As we'll see as in more dialogue that Shin and Balin have is there's something more. Mm-hmm. There's a power that they need to be on. There's a side of the war that they know that is coming that they need to be on, right? Mm-hmm. And that is what that's what we're looking for. That's what they're looking for, and that's what I'm waiting to see. Is to see like. Where is Balin's breaking point? Like, where is the point that he's going to be like, I have to make a decision based off of what I know and what I feel, and where's Shin's breaking point, right? What is she going to do? Because this entire time, I'm like, please, like, Shin seems like vulnerable, and she seems like already very like emotional. That she could either turn way worse or she could turn to the light. And I'm like, oh, is that going to happen? Are we going to see that, or is that on the plans, or you know, vice versa, whatever with Balin, and so this episode kind of just captured that entire thing for me.
Yeah, and I think you've hit on the point that Shin's vulnerable. I think another thing is she's kind of immature. It's like season 1, season 2 Ahsoka of Clone Wars, where she's asking the wrong questions. Her headspace, she's not like thinking the same way that Anakin is until like season 5 or 6 or 7, and so or 5 or 7, not 6, but it's very interesting because she's so she's asking about Ezra. Who's this guy?
Right.
Why are we out here? What even is, like, this doesn't make sense to me. They're leaving. We need to go, And Balin's like, whoa. Like, you're, like, just like Ahsoka kind of learned in World Between Worlds, like, hey, like you got to figure yourself out, be who you are. Like, Balin's like, I know who I am, and I know what I'm going for. And that's why, like, we see later on, he's like, you have your own path. Like, I have my own path, you have your own path. Like, I respect what you're going to do. So, like, go for it. Because he's just in that proper headspace where she's just still like, well, why would we stay here? We're gonna be stuck here forever. Like, or who is this guy that why would she give up her master for this person that we've never seen before? And somehow my big question, we were watching it, and my big question to you guys was, how does Balin know who Ezra is? Like, how does he know anything? Like, did he have a side conversation with Thrawn like 5 minutes before they left and be like, hey, who are they? Who is she even after? Like, yeah. There's no way he could know Kanan, but there's no way he knows Ezra.
Yeah.
Unless he's heard about things that Hera's done with the New Republic. That's the only other way I can think of is rumors from there. But
yeah, no, I thought that was a cool point, right? There's this dialogue surrounding Ezra, and that was something I hadn't thought of before. I was like, oh, they're just talking about Ezra, but you're like, how does he actually know him, right? But I think it's interesting because without even, maybe he's never met Ezra, probably, and so we're like, he doesn't know Ezra, but when he's talking to Shin's like, hey, yeah, like, Ezra was trained by the Jedi, and all this stuff, and they're kind of talking about that, and Balin's like, yeah, well, I trained you to be more than a Jedi, right? And there's this whole dialogue of, hey, do you miss the Jedi Order and stuff, and Balin says, I miss the idea of it, right? But I don't miss the truth, the weakness, like, there wasn't any future there, right? It was just, it was gone. And obviously it's in the past. The Jedi Order fell, right? And so they have to become something more. And so I think that dialogue, for me, right, like, maybe there's not a ton of action, but the dialogue really reveals who the characters are, what their goals are, and kind of gives you shade to, like, what it is that they're doing and why they're there,
It makes you wonder if Dooku was young during the Purge and escaped Order 66, or however old Balin was, if he would have been doing the exact same things that Balin's doing, because it's the same, he sees the same issues and flaws that the Jedi had that Balin is talking about. Dooku felt the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And so it just, at the time, he couldn't, the Jedi, he wasn't going to be able to do anything. It wasn't time yet,
Right.
And so, just food for thought.
Yeah. Flashback to Sabine here, because we've been following Balin and Shin. Sabine is again on this quest. She scuffles with some raiders, whatever, and then she's with the big wolf creatures. I don't know if you guys remember. The Howler, is that what they're called? Howlers. Yeah. And she finds a little rock shell creature, the naughty people, yeah. N-O-T-I. Which I thought they were cool little creatures. We could talk about them more in the next episodes to kind of see, their nomadic nature and stuff. But I thought, again, in the spirit of this is a different galaxy, we're not going to see what we're used to seeing, right? I thought they were cool creatures, right? Are they helpless and can they really not do anything and kind of wingless? Yeah, but like those are kind of the creatures that Ezra vibes with, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the love cats. Like, say what you will about the Purrgil. Purrgil don't really do anything. They just kind of fly through the galaxy and stuff. Cool. But that's kind of Ezra's MO. So I thought it was fitting that here are these very simple, passive creatures that are kind-hearted, and of course that's who's going to know Ezra, and that's who he's going to hang out with. So,
yeah. Whoa, spoilers! Whoa.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. As the story goes on, she meets the naughty. They have some of the, I think it's a Phoenix Squadron patch, right?
It's a rebellion.
A rebellion
It's a
patch or something,
rebellion patch,
or necklace or something like that. And through them, Sabine is kind of taken. She's like, oh, the only way they could have this is if they got it from Ezra, right? And so she's taken back to their structure, their village where they're living for the moment, in hopes that she'll find Ezra. So.
And then we get probably one of the most lackluster, the thing is, Ahsoka's been great in a lot of aspects, but the meeting of characters have been really, really, lackluster. We see Ezra, we finally see Ezra, or, space apostle.
What?
Who's just
Moses.
Yeah, right? Who just comes in.
Have you seen those movies?
Yeah, I've seen them, but it's been a while. This show came out a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you see Ezra, full beard, just looking like a character out of a...
Looks like his dad.
Bible movie.
Looks like his dad.
Yeah.
He does look like his dad.
It's true.
I mean, I think his dad had blue hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it was an
an
animated TV show, so
yeah.
But he did look like his dad. I
he had the goatee like his dad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, Sabine just walks in and sees him, and then they just share this. He goes, "I knew you'd find me," and then that's they walk to each other, and then it's this little embrace, and then that's it. It's is that what you're gonna do when you see your brother, or you see
you thought you killed Ahsoka for this man?
Yeah,
literally.
You're gonna stare at him for 10 seconds.
You're gonna have some little banter and then just walk over and give a little hug,
a little smirk.
It hurt.
It's no, run into give each other's massive embrace. There's emotion behind it. There was no emotion behind that. But one thing is I wasn't super sure about he does look like Ezra, but I thought there was another dude who I was I wish they would have gone. But after I'm watching his interactions and the little mannerisms that he has, I'm this is Ezra. This is Ezra as an adult, right? This is Ezra, not Ezra from Clone or from Rebels. This is adult, more wise Ezra, who's probably been spending most of his time meditating and connecting to the Force and all that stuff, right? Helping out the Naughty with their whatever they're doing and maintaining his life, but he's probably had a connection to the Force, and he seems like that, right? Mm-hmm. He seems like he's a lot wiser and all that stuff. But
he still has that spark of humor and fun, and
he's still
childish.
Yeah, he's teasing Sabine about this and that and stuff. As the in that future episodes, you kind of see that playfulness that we loved in Rebels, right? So I thought he was. I agree. Maybe at first I was so on the actor, but I thought he did an amazing job. So big fan.
Great, big fan of Ezra.
Live action Jabba the Hutt has never been
better. That's gonna be the biggest knock for the episode is the embrace, the lack of it.
Lack of emotion.
Lack of what I mean. It's been 6 years since Rebel Season 4 ended. We've been on this cliffhanger for that long. Her whole motive to be a Jedi was, we find out a little bit more about Mandalore, but also to find Ezra. Once she has the opportunity, she takes it, which puts Ahsoka, pretty much she thinks she dies. And then you're finally there after 6 years, and it's stare at each other and have this awkward conversation, then slowly walk over and give a hug and smile. And I was like, bro, no.
Yeah.
We did us dirty there. She should have jumped on him, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
They both should.
Sebezra or not. Sebezra or not, alright? Whether you ride with it or you don't, that embrace was super, super sad.
Right, and if you compare it to the emotion that she had when Ezra was going away in Season 4, that's not...
Yeah.
That's
Ezra,
not
get out of there!
Right, where she's she had such a hard time, going along with his plan, but she knew that's what he needed to do.
Yeah.
But, that whole... was this isn't, come on, get out of there, don't do this, don't go. You expect someone with that emotion to finally see him after the decades, or a decade they've been missing, to just be hey, what's up, dog?
Yeah. But of the 4 minutes we get of Ezra in this episode, after that ended, I personally was thoroughly relieved of the role that Like the dialogue Ezra had, how he looked, all that. I thought, you know what, this is what I would expect from him. And I was just happy to see that he wasn't Enoch, or he wasn't lost like Kenobi was at one point.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kenobi thought he killed his best friend. Ezra did something for the greater good.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's
he could rest easy.
Yeah, he could rest easy in that regard. So there's that huge difference. But it was good to see he wasn't, drinking milk out of a random animal on a planet called Octu.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I agree.
So.
No, I thought it was a good reveal. Like his character was good, right? Again, lackluster, meeting of Sabine and Ezra, but yeah.
Other than that, it was, did really, really well.
Because in Rebels they do have a brother-sister relationship where they
to some extent,
it's like they're gonna punch each other.
Dude,
Or
he's trying to hit her up for
he's trying to hit her
2
up.
seasons.
The
And
first-
then she's
when
like,
he
"Hey, I'm
first
not
met
into
her?
it."
Yeah, when he first
So he
agree.
kind of steps off, but then my boy pops off, dude. Like he blossoms. He becomes the man,
It's true.
and I think she notices.
Well, yeah, and the whole series
some
is
respect
rooted
for
around the one episode in Rebels season 3, episode 15, Trials of the Darksaber, where she learns how to wield the Darksaber. That's probably the most pivotal Rebels episode for Sabine in this show. And that's the episode where Ezra's like talking to her, and he's like, "Dude, if I had a family to go back to, I'd do whatever it took."
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she's like out here whining because she doesn't want to go back to her people,
Yep.
right? And I think that's kind of like the moment where she kind of like sees him in a different light a little bit, instead of just like, oh, Ezra's just playing around with swords, like,
just a stupid kid.
yeah, stupid kid.
Well, it's not what she said.
Oh, Ezra, you're not that stupid kid that you once were. You've really grown up. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that episode is when we don't know anything about Sabine for 3.5 seasons, almost 2.5, 2 3/4 seasons, until this episode where it's like, oh yeah, I killed my people. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the episode 3 reaction, but like you don't find out anything about her like that, and I think that's when she breaks through and truly embraces the Ghost crew as her family more than she already did. She kind of clung to them because that's all she had.
Yeah.
But now it's like, hey, like now they know my background, and we know as viewers, we know her background, and it's like that kind of buildup of emotion in her for 16 years, however old she was in Rebels. Like it's got to be an equivalent amount of her waiting to see Ezra or trying to get to Ezra,
Right.
and I mean she exploded in that episode. She like took down Kanan like in a fight, like.
Mm-hmm.
Where's I don't know. She could have shown a little more emotion / a lot more emotion seeing Ezra.
Yeah.
I think.
Which I mean, if it also goes to show, like there was a part in season 4 where she stayed on Mandalore and was with her family on Mandalore for a while, right? And then she's like, "Oh, I need to go help."
Ezra broke through the blockade to go get her.
Right.
Yep.
And
Admiral Constantine, we talked about him too.
Yeah.
Rip.
Just got dog water.
Boy got shafted.
But yeah, and then it's like it's all this emotion that she has between like who is my real family, and then all of a sudden her family gets wrecked and just when all of Mandalore gets purged, and so she has the only thing that she can cling to is Kanan's gone, Hera's is the general, Zeb is part of the army, right? Like everyone kind of goes their separate ways. She becomes like Ezra's gone. It's like, don't you want like that familial like connection again? And now you're literally disobeying the orders of your Jedi master because you want to see him, and all you're gonna give him is a sly smile and a tiny little hug, you know?
Or even if it's like this, she runs and tackles him or something, bear hug, and then she like pushes him back and punches him or something.
Right.
Like she's done a million times.
Yeah.
You know. So, what does that leave us at? The ratings?
Yeah.
Any other things that we want to talk about?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I can kick us off. I might be slightly generous with my rating for this episode. I might be a little low. I'm interested to see where you guys are at. For this one, I ended up giving it a 9 out of 10. I think there were aspects that I really liked. I know I've mentioned it a few times, but I think the dialogue on this episode was really good. I think there wasn't maybe a ton of action, but I think it moved the storyline and it filled in the blanks on these are who these characters are. You know, like we discussed, if there was a little more emotion in the end, maybe that score comes up a little bit because you got to realize this is the first time we've seen live action Ezra and he delivered. This is the first time we've seen live action Thrawn and he delivered. And again, like we talked about, excellent backstory for Balin, excellent backstory for Shin. We understand their motives and why they're there. So for me, it would be a 9 out of 10.
I would also give it a 9 just for the sake of the reason why I was knocked down a point was because of the emotion and just like the story was progressed through the dialogue you were saying, and I really enjoyed the dialogue because it gave the characters depth and all that stuff. But like it just didn't seem almost like they were real people, right? It's like in a sense like Ezra, the whole thing, but like it just left a little bit more to be desired. But like Thrawn, like I thought his character was amazing, and then his dialogue still like gave me chills in my bones, like when I watched it in Rebels. Mm-hmm. And so that was awesome. I mean, to see the Night Sisters again, to be like these are ancient Night Sisters, where I was like, holy cow, that's actually kind of sick, right? It's like, oh, we see ancient Night Sisters, and Balin and Shin, just their character development and how Balin's like, I don't want you to be a Jedi, like Boken Jedi, or like, she's like, oh, that's what I am. Mm-hmm. She's like, no, you're better. So it kind of gave Shin some more light and all that stuff. So yeah, a 9 as well, probably for my rating.
Well, I am still deciding, in all honesty, right now, because I agree with what you're saying. I just don't know if I should give a full point doc for the one thing that I thought this episode needed, which was the hug. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna go with a 9.25. We'll go in between the 9.5 and a 9 because I think. I'm repeating right now. Balin's dialogue, Thrawn and his dialogue, Night Sisters, Pridia being new. And then Ezra, who is like the nature of him and how he was, just blew me away. We hit it on the spot. I think it had that one thing. That's 2 back-to-back 10 out of 10s, but I would you guys agree? 10 out of 10 if that they fixed that ending, the last 5 minutes, better hug.
I think that would deliver on like everything I would want in the episode.
Yeah.
And I think that like I would rewatch this one for the lore, right?
Yeah.
But if it had that, like, dude, guaranteed rewatch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I think
I would elevate to 10.
Because how many episodes in Star Wars in stuff that we know has like a resolution like that with the huge hug at the end that would have that kind of impact because of that kind of build up? Because usually it's like these kind of emotional episodes are Ahsoka leaving the Order, right. And it's like that's like a huge build up of dagger to my heart, not like a finally coming puzzle pieces coming together. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, this would have been like a reverse of one of those kind of like Umbara or season 7 finale where instead of like Ahsoka leaving the battlefield of her clone troopers that died, think like instead of that sadness like awesome effect, it would have been like an awesome heartwarming effect. And it just didn't deliver like we wanted it to. But everything else combined. So we'll go 9.25 for this episode. So
nice.
Right. Well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we got. So we'll catch you in the next one with episode 7. Getting close to the end.
Yes, we are. Later.